The sun was barely rising over the jagged cliffs when the human mechanic reached the crash site. The wind howled through the broken metal of the alien ship, carrying with it the faint smell of burnt circuits and scorched metal. The ship had been lying there for who knew how long, its hull torn open like a wounded animal. Pieces of strange technology were scattered everywhere, glowing faintly in colors the human had never seen. Curiosity had always drawn them to strange machines, but nothing in their life had prepared them for something like this. As they stepped closer, careful to avoid jagged edges and glowing wires that hummed with energy, a soft whimper reached their ears. At first they thought it was the wind, playing tricks in the hollow corridors of the ship, but then the sound came again, clearer, desperate, almost pleading. The mechanic froze. Their hands instinctively moved to their tools, though this was not a repair job they had ever imagined taking on. They moved cautiously toward the sound, their boots crunching against debris. Inside the wreckage, they saw it. A massive creature, unlike anything from Earth, lay trapped under twisted metal. It looked like a wolf, but far larger than any wolf the human had ever seen. Its fur shimmered with shades of silver and blue, and its eyes, even though weak and strained, held an intelligence that made the human's heart skip. The creature's legs were bent unnaturally beneath the wreckage, and its chest heaved with shallow, painful breaths. It was paralyzed, unable to move, yet very much alive. The human's first instinct was fear. Stories of alien creatures were always dangerous, and this one looked capable of tearing a person apart if provoked. But then they noticed the wolf's eyes. They weren't full of rage or aggression. They were pleading. The mechanic felt a strange pull, a mix of fear and compassion stronger than anything they had felt before. They took a deep breath and set their tools down, knowing that the decision before them was simple in heart but terrifying in reality. They had to help. The first challenge was clear: freeing the creature without causing it more pain. Every movement could worsen its injuries. The human used metal rods and leverage to slowly lift parts of the wreckage. Sparks flew from exposed circuits and the faint hum of alien technology vibrated through their hands, but they kept going. Sweat ran down their face, not just from effort, but from fear of doing something wrong. The wolf watched silently, its gaze locked onto the human as if it understood every thought. Hours passed, and the mechanic realized that the ship itself was unstable. Some parts of the ceiling had collapsed, and the entire structure could give way at any moment. The sun climbed higher, casting harsh light into the ship's open gaps. Dust and small debris rained down as the human finally managed to free one of the wolf's front legs. The creature let out a low, pained groan but did not struggle. Its trust, fragile yet undeniable, hung between them like a thin thread. During a small break, the mechanic studied the wolf. Its body was strong and muscular even in its paralyzed state. There were faint scars along its flanks, signs that it had fought battles before, perhaps in places the human could not even imagine. Its eyes scanned the human, not with confusion but with recognition, as if the creature knew it was meant to be rescued by this particular human. A shiver ran down the mechanic's spine. There was something special about this wolf, something beyond just survival. The wind picked up, whistling through the ship like a warning. The human realized that staying inside the wreckage was too dangerous. Some part of the ship might collapse completely at any moment, but moving the wolf seemed impossible. How could they carry such a massive creature while avoiding broken metal, sparks, and potential traps? They looked around, spotting a narrow path through the wreckage. It would be difficult, almost impossible, but not hopeless. They approached the wolf again, speaking softly, even though they knew the creature probably didn't understand the words. "I'm going to help you," they said. "I'll get you out of here. You just need to trust me." The wolf's eyes softened, and a faint nod of its head seemed to acknowledge the promise. The mechanic carefully placed their arms under the wolf's chest and neck, testing its weight. It was heavier than anything they had carried before, yet they felt a strange strength coursing through them, an energy drawn from the wolf itself. Step by step, they began moving. The path was narrow, littered with debris, but the human balanced the wolf with painstaking care. Sparks flew from broken circuits and small pieces of metal scraped against the creature's fur. But neither the human nor the wolf panicked. There was a rhythm to their movements, an unspoken understanding that failure was not an option. With each careful step, the bond between them grew stronger. Midway through, a loud crack echoed from above. Part of the ship's ceiling began to give way. Dust and debris rained down. The human froze, heart hammering, and looked up. A massive piece of metal was about to crush them. With no time to think, they shifted the wolf slightly, rolling just as the debris fell beside them. The wolf groaned but did not panic, trusting the human completely. That moment sealed the connection between them. They were no longer rescuer and rescued. They were partners in survival. By the time they reached the exit, the human was exhausted. Their muscles ached. Their hands were scraped and burned from contact with metal and alien technology, and sweat ran in rivulets down their face. But when they stepped out into the open air, the wolf fully in their arms, a strange calm settled over them. Sunlight touched the wolf's shimmering fur, and the creature lifted its head slightly, as if feeling the warmth for the first time in a long while. The mechanic sat down, finally allowing themselves to rest, the wolf resting against their chest. Neither spoke. Words were unnecessary. The bond they had formed in those first terrifying hours was clear in every heartbeat, every glance, every small movement. The human knew that this was just the beginning. The wolf was paralyzed now, but that would not last forever. They would need to find a way to heal it, to keep it safe, and perhaps in the process, they would learn secrets about the alien ship and the creature that no human had ever known. As the wind swept over the cliff, carrying the faint hum of distant machines and the scent of burned metal, the human and the alien wolf sat together. The world felt vast, strange, and dangerous, but for the first time both felt hope. They had survived the first challenge, and somehow, they both knew that the bond formed in the wreckage would guide them through whatever came next. The sun climbed higher, and the mechanic looked down at the wolf again. "We'll figure this out," they whispered. "Step by step, we'll figure it out together." The wolf's eyes glimmered, and a faint growl, almost like a smile, echoed softly in the human's ears. It was a sound of trust, of acceptance, and of something more, something that hinted at the adventure that awaited them both. And so, the first day of an extraordinary journey came to an end, not with fear but with quiet determination. The human had saved the alien wolf, and in doing so had begun a story neither could have predicted. The wrecked ship behind them was dangerous and full of mysteries, but in the bond between human and wolf, a spark of hope had been lit, a spark that neither time nor danger could easily extinguish. The human had never carried anything so heavy in their life. Every step felt like a test of strength, balance, and determination. The alien wolf rested in their arms, its body still trembling slightly from exhaustion and fear. Its breathing was shallow, but it was alive, and that alone gave the human a strange sense of hope. The first challenge was behind them, but the next was just beginning. Finding a safe place to rest was urgent. The cliffside offered some shelter, but it was exposed and windy. The human scanned the horizon and spotted a small grove of alien-like trees with thick roots and wide leaves that could provide some shade. The wolf's weight slowed every step, but the human forced themselves onward, speaking softly all the while. "It's okay. Almost there," they whispered. "Just a little more." The wolf's eyes followed them, weak but attentive. There was something in those eyes that told the human that the creature understood, at least in part, what they were saying. Despite the strangeness of the situation, a bond was forming. A bond built on trust, care, and the silent understanding that both were fighting for survival. Finally, they reached the grove. The human gently lowered the wolf onto the soft ground, careful not to jostle it too much. They examined the creature more closely now, using the light of the sun to see injuries that had been hidden in the dim interior of the wrecked ship. Its legs were badly bruised and twisted, and there were several deep cuts along its flanks. The skin was torn in places, and strange fluids, neither blood nor anything the human recognized, oozed slowly from wounds. The human felt a surge of panic but quickly forced it down. Panic wouldn't help. They needed to think, to act, and to improvise. They set to work using their tools, first cleaning the wounds carefully with water from a portable container. The wolf flinched slightly but remained surprisingly still, watching the human with wide, intelligent eyes. The human's hands trembled at first, unsure if they could do this properly, but determination won over fear. Hours passed. The human made splints from broken pieces of the ship's metal, patted them with scraps of cloth, and carefully secured the wolf's legs. Every movement was slow and deliberate, making sure not to cause more pain. The wolf groaned occasionally but never lashed out, never tried to bite or scratch. The human realized that the creature wasn't just paralyzed. It trusted them completely, even though it had never met a human before. After stabilizing the injuries as best as they could, the humans settled beside the wolf. Sweat dripped from their forehead, clothes torn and stained from the day's effort. But as they watched the creature breathe steadily, a sense of quiet triumph filled them. They had done the impossible. They had freed the wolf and kept it alive. Night was falling, and the grove was filled with strange alien sounds. Insects buzzed in rhythms unfamiliar to Earth, and distant calls echoed from places the human could not see. They felt a chill and wrapped the wolf in a cloth, trying to provide warmth. The wolf's fur shimmered slightly under the moonlight, reflecting pale blue and silver shades that seemed almost magical. The human marveled quietly, feeling a strange connection to a creature from a world so far removed from their own. Sleep was difficult. Every rustle of leaves made the human tense, worried about predators or the unstable alien ship they had left behind. The wolf, despite its injuries, occasionally shifted slightly, leaning closer to the human as if seeking comfort. At that moment, the human understood something profound. The wolf's survival depended not only on healing its body, but on trust and companionship. Morning came slowly. The human woke before the sun, checking the wolf. There were no new injuries overnight, and the creature's breathing was steady. That was progress. They needed food and water, but the alien environment was unfamiliar. They experimented carefully, offering small portions of water mixed with minerals scavenged from the wreckage. The wolf hesitated at first, but then drank slowly, eyes never leaving the human's face. Over the next few days, the human adapted. They made a small improvised bed for the wolf using leaves, cloth, and parts of the ship's interior that had been discarded. They cleaned the wounds regularly, fed the creature carefully, and spoke to it constantly. It was exhausting work, but the human never stopped. With each passing day, the wolf showed tiny signs of recovery. A flicker of its tail, a slight movement of its head, a soft growl that wasn't of pain but acknowledgement. The bond between them deepened. The human began to notice intelligence in the wolf beyond anything they had expected. It seemed to understand patterns, anticipate movements, and even respond to gestures. When the human approached with water or food, the wolf would lift its head, following every motion with unwavering attention. Sometimes it would place its paw on the human's arm as if saying, "I trust you. Don't let me fall." Those moments filled the human with a mixture of awe and responsibility. One day, while scavenging near the wrecked ship for supplies, the human discovered something remarkable. The wolf's body reacted to alien technology. When they approached a damaged control panel, the wolf lifted its head, eyes glowing faintly as if recognizing something familiar. The human froze, realizing that this creature had a connection to the ship and possibly the civilization it came from. The wolf's intelligence and strength might be far beyond anything a human could imagine. The realization changed everything. The human knew that they weren't just helping an injured creature. They were unlocking a part of a world that no human had ever touched. But fear still lingered. The wolf was still vulnerable, and the human had no idea what dangers might come from the ship, from the environment, or from others who might find the wolf. Every decision was critical. Despite the fear, there were moments of joy. The wolf would sometimes wag its tail or nuzzle the human's hand. The human laughed quietly at the small victories, the wolf drinking on its own, moving a paw slightly, or resting its head on their shoulder. These moments reminded them why they had risked everything to help the creature. It wasn't just survival, it was connection. As days turned into a week, the wolf's strength gradually returned. It could shift its weight slightly, lift its head higher, and even try to stand with the human's help. Every step was careful, every attempt painstaking, but progress was real. The human learned patience and the wolf learned trust. Together they were a team, facing challenges that neither could survive alone. One evening, the human looked at the wolf and realized something incredible. It had begun to recognize them not just as a rescuer, but as a companion. The wolf's eyes followed every motion. Its ears twitched at every sound the human made, and it even responded to subtle gestures. The human felt a thrill of understanding. This creature from a world beyond Earth was forming a bond that was stronger than fear, stronger than pain. It was forming friendship, but there was also a shadow of uncertainty. The alien ship still loomed nearby, full of mysteries and dangers. The wolf's injuries might be healed, but its past, its purpose, and the secrets it carried were still unknown. The human knew that the real challenge was only beginning. Healing the wolf was the first step. Understanding it, protecting it, And discovering the truths of the alien world would take far more courage, skill, and trust than anything they had faced so far. As night fell again, the humans sat beside the wolf, their hands resting gently on its shimmering fur. The wind carried strange alien sounds, but the human no longer felt afraid. The wolf's soft breathing, the gentle rise and fall of its chest, and the faint glow of its fur were reminders that together, they could face whatever came next. And in that moment, the human realized that the story of survival had become something more. It was a story of trust, of companionship, and of a bond that crossed worlds. A bond that might one day reveal secrets that could change everything the human knew about life, the universe, and the creatures within it. The wolf's eyes flickered once, and the human whispered softly, "We're in this together. No matter what comes next, we face it together." The faintest growl, almost like agreement, echoed in the night. It was more than a sound, it was a promise. And so the second chapter of their journey ended not with fear but with quiet determination. Both human and wolf were healing, learning, and preparing for what lay ahead. The bond that had started in the wreckage of a broken ship was now stronger, resilient, and unbreakable. Their adventure had truly begun. The sun had barely risen when the human realized it was time to move again. The grove had offered temporary safety, but it was not a permanent home. The alien wolf, though slowly recovering, could not remain there forever. Its massive body was still weak, and the human could feel every tremor as they lifted it carefully into their arms. Carrying the wolf was exhausting, yet there was no other choice. Every step had to be slow and precise, every movement calculated, because even a small misstep could injure the creature further. The terrain outside the grove was rough. Rocks jutted out like broken teeth, and the alien landscape was filled with plants and trees that the human did not recognize. Some of the plants had sharp thorns, while others released a faint glowing mist when touched. The human navigated carefully, scanning each step and clearing obstacles where possible. The wolf's weight pressed heavily on their arms, but with each careful step, the human felt a connection growing stronger. It was not just physical strength keeping them moving. It was determination, trust, and something deeper, something neither of them could put into words. Hours passed. The human spoke softly, trying to keep the wolf calm. "Almost there," they said. "Just a little more. You're doing so well." The wolf's head lifted slightly, ears twitching, and its eyes followed every movement. Even paralyzed, it seemed aware of every sound and gesture. The human felt a strange warmth, as if the wolf was silently encouraging them, telling them not to give up. The landscape became more dangerous as they progressed. A narrow ravine stretched ahead, filled with jagged rocks and unstable ground. Crossing it would be nearly impossible while carrying the wolf. The humans scanned the area, looking for a safer path. There was none. They took a deep breath, steadied themselves, and started moving carefully across the rocks. Each step had to be deliberate. The wolf's body shifted slightly in their arms with each movement, and the human adjusted their grip to keep it stable. Midway across, a rock beneath the human's foot shifted. Their heart raced. One wrong move, and both of them could fall. Instinct took over. The human lunged slightly, balancing their weight and steadying the wolf. The creature growled softly, not in anger, but as if acknowledging the danger they had just avoided together. The human exhaled slowly, their muscles trembling from the effort. The wolf, despite its injuries, seemed to understand. Its eyes met theirs, and in that glance a silent promise passed between them. They would survive this together. The sun climbed higher, and the human's strength began to wane. Their arms burned, their legs shook, and sweat poured down their face. But the wolf, resting quietly, offered them something no one else could. Trust. Trust that demanded courage, determination, and resilience. The human pushed through the pain, taking breaks only when absolutely necessary. Each pause was short, just enough to let their arms rest before lifting the wolf again. As they moved through a narrow canyon, strange noises echoed around them. High-pitched shrieks and low vibrating hums came from the rocks and crevices. The human froze, listening. Some of the sounds were clearly alien wildlife, while others were unknown. The wolf stirred slightly, lifting its head and twitching its ears. It let out a low growl, not aggressive but alert. The human realized that even in its weakened state, the wolf could sense danger far better than they could. It had instincts that went beyond any human understanding. The human tightened their grip and moved forward carefully. Every shadow, every sound was a potential threat. But the wolf remained calm, almost guiding the human with its reactions. When the human stumbled on uneven ground, the wolf shifted its weight subtly, helping them regain balance. It was as if the creature was saying, "I may be weak now, but I can still help you." The human's heart swelled with admiration and gratitude. This was no ordinary animal. They were partners now, connected in a way neither fully understood. By midday, they reached a plateau overlooking a vast valley. The sun shone down, revealing a landscape both beautiful and dangerous. Strange plants, glowing streams, and towering rock formations stretched as far as the eye could see. The humans set the wolf down carefully, letting it rest while they took in the view. Their body ached, but the wolf seemed content to remain still, eyes scanning the valley below. There was a sense of calm here, a moment of peace in the midst of chaos. But safety was temporary. The human knew that predators, or worse, automated defenses from the alien ship, could be nearby. The wolf stirred, ears twitching, and the human understood. Even in rest, vigilance was necessary. They prepared a small area for the wolf to stay safe, using rocks and debris as a makeshift barrier. Then they scavenged nearby, looking for anything that could help the wolf recover further: water, food, or materials to make the wolf more comfortable. As evening approached, the human worked tirelessly. They fashioned splints for the wolf's legs, carefully adjusted the support around its body, and offered water and small portions of alien vegetation that seemed safe. The wolf drank slowly, eyes never leaving the human's face. Each successful movement, each moment of calm, felt like a victory. The human smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. The wolf, though still fragile, was responding. Recovery was slow, but progress was real. Night fell, and the valley glowed faintly with alien light from plants and minerals. The human and the wolf settled together, the creature leaning gently against the human's chest. The wind whispered through the rocks, carrying alien scents and sounds that were both strange and comforting. The human spoke softly, recounting stories from Earth, stories of machines, adventures, and moments of courage. The wolf listened, its eyes bright even in the dim light, as if understanding the words in some way beyond human comprehension. Sleep came slowly. The human stayed alert, one hand on the wolf's shimmering fur. Every rustle in the night, every distant cry made them tense. But they also felt a deep sense of connection and purpose. This was more than survival. It was companionship, trust, and the beginning of a partnership that transcended worlds. The wolf, once trapped and paralyzed, was slowly becoming more than just an injured creature. It was becoming a companion, a guide, and perhaps something more extraordinary than the human could imagine. By dawn, the human awoke with a renewed sense of determination. The wolf had moved slightly during the night, lifting its head and looking around. That small movement filled the human with hope. They prepared to continue their journey, knowing the path ahead would be long, dangerous, and unpredictable. But for the first time, they felt confident. Together, they could face anything. The bond formed in the wreckage, strengthened in the grove, and tested in the canyon was now unbreakable. The human carefully lifted the wolf, adjusting their grip and ensuring the makeshift splints were secure. They moved slowly, each step measured but with a sense of purpose. The valley stretched before them, filled with unknown dangers, yet beautiful in its alien strangeness. The human whispered softly, "We'll make it. Step by step, we'll make it." The wolf's eyes met theirs, a faint nod, a subtle growl, as if answering, "I believe you, I trust you," and so the journey continued. Every step, every obstacle, every moment of pain or exhaustion was a testament to their determination. The human and the wolf were no longer just survivor and rescued, they were partners. Their story, which had begun with fear and uncertainty, was now a tale of trust, courage, and connection. The challenges ahead would be greater, but together, they were ready to face whatever the alien world had in store. For the first time, the human felt a deep understanding. The wolf's past, its strength, and the mysteries of the alien ship were part of a story that they were now living together. The journey was far from over. Every step carried them forward into the unknown, with hope, determination, and the unbreakable bond of trust. The sun was high when the human and the wolf reached the edge of a dense alien forest. The light filtered through strange, twisting trees, casting long, shifting shadows on the ground. For a moment, the human felt relief. The terrain was softer here, the ground more forgiving than the rocks and cliffs they had crossed. They set the wolf down gently, letting it stretch its paralyzed legs as much as possible. But the calm did not last. A low mechanical hum began to fill the air. At first, the human thought it was just the wind interacting with the strange trees. But soon they realized it was something else. The hum grew louder, rhythmic, and deliberate. The human's heart raced. From the shadows emerged shapes that were not alive but not entirely natural either. Automated drones, damaged but still functioning, scanning for any signs of life. These were not animals. They were the remnants of the alien ship's security system, still active even after the wreck. The human froze. Carrying the wolf now would be dangerous, but staying put was equally risky. The drone's sensors flickered with light as they scanned the forest, detecting movement and heat. The human knew instinctively that one false step could trigger them. They crouched behind a large tree, pressing the wolf close to their chest. Its breathing was shallow, but its head turned slightly, eyes alert. Even in its weakened state, it seemed aware of the danger around them. The human whispered softly, "We have to be careful. We can't let them see us." The wolf's ears twitched and it let out a low, almost imperceptible growl. The human realized that the wolf was not just aware of the danger, it was sensing it in ways they could not. Together, they were forming a silent plan, instinctively understanding how to move without triggering the drones. Step by step, the human moved, keeping low and avoiding the drone's beams of light. The wolf shifted slightly in their arms, and the human felt the subtle changes in its weight. It was almost as if the wolf was guiding them, telling them where it was safe to step. They moved cautiously, their heart hammering with every click and hum from the drones. One wrong movement and the alarms would go off. Suddenly, a drone sensor flickered over them. The human froze, holding their breath, but the wolf reacted instinctively. It shifted its massive body slightly, letting out a low, warning growl. The drone hesitated, its lights flickering as if confused. The human realized then that the wolf's presence was affecting the machines. Even paralyzed, the creature had a connection to the ship's technology, a hidden power they had not yet understood. The human continued moving, using the wolf's reactions as a guide. They crawled over fallen logs and under thick vines, careful not to touch anything that might trigger an alarm. Every movement required precision, patience, and focus. The drones scanned and patrolled, but they never fully understood the bond between the human and the wolf, a bond that allowed them to navigate danger together. After what felt like hours, they reached a clearing. The drones were behind them now, their lights flickering in the distance. The human set the wolf down gently on the soft ground. Its legs trembled as it tried to stand, but the human supported it, helping it shift weight and balance. The wolf looked around, eyes alert, as if sensing other dangers the human could not see. It let out a soft warning growl, and the human realized that this was not the end of the threat. There would be more challenges ahead, more dangers to face. The human and the wolf rested briefly, taking in the clearing. The air was heavy with the scent of alien plants, and strange creatures rustled in the distance. The human knew they had to keep moving, but this moment of calm allowed them to reflect on how far they had come. The wolf, once paralyzed and trapped, was slowly regaining strength. Their partnership was growing stronger, built on trust, instinct, and shared determination. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed through the clearing. The human and the wolf tensed. From the shadows, a large, predatory alien creature emerged, drawn by the scent and movement of the human and the wolf. Its eyes glowed with hunger, and its body was muscular, built for speed and power. The human's heart pounded. They were tired, weak, and carrying the wolf's weight, but they could not let the creature attack. The wolf stirred slightly, shifting its body and letting out a deep, resonant growl. Even paralyzed, its presence was commanding. The alien predator hesitated, sensing the wolf's latent strength and intelligence. The human realized that the wolf was protecting them, warning the predator that any attack would be met with resistance. It was a turning point. The wolf was not just a victim, it was a partner, capable of defending and guiding the human. Thinking quickly, the human used a piece of broken metal from the ship as a distraction. They threw it to the side and it clanged against the rocks, drawing the predator's attention momentarily. The wolf reacted instinctively, using its body to shield the human while letting out a growl that resonated through the clearing. The predator snarled, uncertain, then retreated into the shadows. The human exhaled, relief flooding through them. They looked down at the wolf, whose eyes met theirs with a mixture of trust and intelligence. Despite its paralysis, the creature had instinctively protected them both. The human realized that the wolf was far more capable than they had first thought. Its strength was not only physical, it was mental, instinctual, and connected to the alien technology that surrounded them. Night was falling, and the human knew they had to find a safe place to rest. They carried the wolf further into the forest, moving cautiously to avoid more drones or predators. The wolf remained alert, head lifting occasionally, ears twitching at every sound. The human felt a deep sense of respect and admiration. This creature, once helpless and trapped, had become a partner, guiding and protecting them in ways that were almost human in understanding. They found a small cave with soft moss at the entrance. The human set the wolf down carefully, letting it rest. They used pieces of metal and cloth to make a makeshift barrier, protecting the entrance from curious predators. The wolf settled down, breathing slowly, and the human sat beside it, exhausted but relieved. The bond between them had grown stronger that day, tested by danger and reinforced by trust. The human spoke softly, recounting stories of Earth and adventures, as if trying to explain their world to the wolf. The creature listened, eyes bright even in the dim light of the cave. There was a sense of understanding, a connection that went beyond words. The human realized that this journey was not just about survival, it was about partnership, trust, and the silent communication that had formed between them. As sleep came, the human kept a hand on the wolf's shimmering fur. They felt the creature's faint movements, subtle shifts that showed awareness and intelligence. Even in rest, the wolf was alert, sensing dangers the human could not. Together they had survived drones, treacherous terrain, and predators. Together they had formed a bond that was unbreakable. And as the human drifted into a light sleep, they realized something important. The wolf was not just a creature to be saved. It was a guide, a protector, and a partner in ways they had only begun to understand. The challenges ahead would be greater, but with the wolf by their side, the human felt ready to face whatever the alien world had in store. The night was calm, but the adventure was far from over. The human and the wolf, bound by trust and determination, were ready for the next challenge. They had survived danger, learned to work together, and discovered that the bond between them was stronger than fear, stronger than pain, and stronger than anything the alien world could throw at them. The sun was low in the sky when the human finally found a place they could call safe, at least for a while. It was a small valley hidden between jagged rocks and thick alien foliage. A gentle stream ran through it, its water glowing faintly with minerals from the alien land. The human carefully set the wolf down on the soft ground near the water. Its body trembled slightly, but it lifted its head, watching the human with eyes full of quiet trust. The human took a deep breath, relief washing over them. They had carried the wolf across dangerous terrain, navigated threats from drones and predators, and now, for the first time in days, they could focus on recovery. They collected soft leaves and moss to make a bed for the wolf, layering it carefully to ensure comfort. Every movement had to be gentle. The wolf's muscles were still weak, and even a small bump could cause pain. The humans scavenged materials from the alien ship remnants they had carried along, fashioning tools and supports to aid the wolf's healing. They made makeshift splints for its legs, padded with moss and cloth, and wrapped carefully to avoid restricting circulation. Each adjustment was slow and deliberate. The wolf, surprisingly patient, watched with eyes that seemed to understand every careful movement. It was clear that it trusted the human completely, relying on them not just for care but for protection. Food and water were next. The human experimented with small portions of alien plants and minerals in the water, cautious not to harm the wolf's system. At first it refused to eat, weak from injury and exhaustion, but the human persisted. They spoke softly, encouraging the wolf, making it feel safe. Slowly, hesitantly, the wolf took small bites and sipped water. Each successful meal was a small victory, and the human felt hope growing stronger. Over the next few days, the valley became a place of recovery. The humans spent their time tending to the wolf's wounds, monitoring its progress and exploring the area for anything useful. The wolf responded, gradually moving its limbs more, lifting its head, and shifting its weight. The human realized that healing was not just physical, it was also mental. The wolf's spirit needed encouragement, trust, and companionship. They spent hours simply sitting together, letting the wolf rest and talking quietly as if the words themselves could heal. The bond between them deepened during these days. The wolf began to respond to subtle gestures, shifting slightly when the human offered water or food, following their hand with its eyes, and even attempting small movements to assist itself. The human discovered that the wolf's intelligence went beyond instinct. It seemed to understand patterns, anticipate actions, and even communicate through small movements and sounds. They realized that the wolf was not just recovering, it was learning, adapting, and building trust in a way that mirrored human understanding. One evening, the human noticed something extraordinary. As they adjusted a splint, the wolf's eyes flickered with a faint glow. It lifted its head, ears alert, and seemed to react to the surrounding energy in the valley. The human froze, unsure what had caused this, and then realized the wolf's body was somehow connected to the alien environment. Even in recovery, it could sense energy, technology, and danger. It was more than a companion. It was a link to something greater. The human smiled quietly, touched the wolf's shimmering fur, and whispered, "You're stronger than I imagined. Together we'll figure this out." The wolf responded with a low growl, not of anger but of acknowledgement. It was a moment of connection that went beyond words, a silent agreement that whatever came next, they would face it together. Recovery was slow, but progress was undeniable. The wolf began to stand with support, testing its legs carefully. Each step was wobbly but determined. The human guided it, steadying its body, encouraging movement and celebrating small victories. The valley became a place of learning and adaptation. The wolf tested its strength, exploring its surroundings cautiously while the human observed, ready to protect and assist. As the days passed, the wolf's strength returned gradually. Its movements became more confident, its reactions faster. The human realized that the creature's recovery was more than healing. It was transformation. The wolf was regaining abilities that were not just physical, but connected to its alien nature. Occasionally, it reacted to unseen energy in the environment, shifting its body or turning its head as if responding to signals the human could not perceive. The human marveled at this, understanding that their bond had allowed the wolf to feel safe enough to recover fully. Trust had been the key. The wolf's reliance on the human had taught it patience, and in return, the human had learned courage, determination, and the depth of connection that could exist between beings from different worlds. One night, as the valley glowed under alien moonlight, the human watched the wolf sleep peacefully. Its chest rose and fell steadily. Its limbs stretched comfortably, and the faint shimmer of its fur reflected the moon's glow. The human felt a mixture of awe and gratitude. They had saved this creature, yes, but in doing so, they had also learned from it. Its resilience, intelligence, and quiet strength had inspired them in ways nothing else ever had. The human spoke softly, as if sharing a secret with the night itself. "You're safe now. We'll stay together. I promise." The wolf stirred slightly, lifting its head and letting its eyes meet the human's. There was understanding there, recognition, and a quiet acceptance. It was more than trust. It was partnership. As the first light of dawn touched the valley, the human and the wolf began a new routine. Each day included small exercises to strengthen the wolf's legs, careful feeding, and exploration of the valley for new resources. The human remained vigilant, aware that danger could still come from the alien environment, the remnants of the ship, or predators that roamed unseen. But now they were not alone. The wolf, once paralyzed and helpless, was becoming a guide and protector. In the quiet moments, the human noticed the wolf's behavior changing. It began to anticipate movements, respond to gestures before they happened, and even seemed to communicate through subtle shifts in posture and sounds. The bond between them was no longer one-sided. They were learning from each other, understanding each other's instincts, fears, and strengths. The human realized that this partnership was unlike anything they had ever experienced. One afternoon, while exploring the valley together, the human discovered a small, glowing pool fed by the stream. The wolf approached first, sniffing the air and lowering its head to drink. The human noticed that the wolf's body reacted strongly to the water, as if it contained energy that aided its recovery. They knelt beside the creature, careful not to startle it, and observed how its muscles twitched with newfound strength. Each movement was precise, powerful, and full of potential. The human felt a mixture of excitement and caution. The wolf was healing, yes, but it was also evolving. Its abilities, once hidden, were beginning to emerge. They realized that the creature they had rescued was no ordinary alien wolf. It had intelligence, instincts, and powers connected to its species and the alien world. The human's role was no longer just caretaker. It was a partner, a guide, and perhaps even a protector of something extraordinary. As the sun set, the human and the wolf settled near the stream. The creature lay down, resting its head on the human's lap, a gesture of trust and companionship. The human stroked its shimmering fur, marveling at the creature's beauty and strength. They spoke softly, recounting the journey they had shared, the dangers they had faced, and the victories they had achieved. The wolf listened, eyes reflecting the fading light as if understanding every word. That night, the human reflected on everything they had learned. The wolf had taught them patience, trust, courage, and the importance of connection. They realized that this journey was far from over. The alien world held dangers, mysteries, and challenges yet to come. But now they were not alone. Together they could face anything. The human whispered, "We've come so far and we'll go even further, step by step together." The wolf's eyes gleamed faintly, a low growl escaping its throat, not of anger but of agreement. It was more than a sound. It was a promise. And so the valley became a place of healing, learning, and preparation. The wolf regained strength, confidence, and awareness, while the human gained trust, understanding, and a companion unlike any other. The bond between them, forged through danger and hardship, was unbreakable. For the first time, the human felt that they were truly ready. The challenges ahead, the mysteries of the alien ship, and the dangers of the world beyond the valley could not be faced alone. But together, human and wolf were ready to meet them. The story of survival had become a story of partnership, growth, and a connection that spanned worlds. The night was calm, but both knew that the adventure was far from over. The wolf rested, breathing steadily, muscles relaxed yet ready for anything. The human sat beside it, hand on its shimmering fur, feeling the quiet strength of the bond they had formed. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Together they were unstoppable. The sun rose slowly over the valley, painting the alien sky with shades of gold and purple. The human stirred, waking to find the wolf already alert. Its eyes glimmered with a strange light, and its muscles, once weak and trembling, now rippled with strength. The human felt a mixture of awe and relief. The days of struggle, carrying, and careful tending had paid off. The wolf was no longer paralyzed. It was whole again, powerful and aware. The wolf stood fully for the first time, testing each leg carefully. The human watched, hands trembling slightly, not out of fear but amazement. The creature moved with a grace and power that seemed almost unreal. Its fur shimmered in the sunlight, casting reflections that danced across the valley. The human realized that this wolf was not just healed, it had transformed. It was stronger, faster, and somehow more intelligent than before. The bond between them had grown into something extraordinary. The human had cared for the wolf when it was weakest, and the wolf had trusted the human completely, relying on their hands, their voice, and their presence. Now, as the wolf moved independently, the trust remained, but it was mutual. The human understood the wolf in ways no one else could, and the wolf seemed to understand the human, reading their intentions, emotions, and thoughts with precision. As the day progressed, the wolf began exploring the valley. Its movements were cautious at first, but with each step it grew bolder. The human followed, carrying supplies, observing how the wolf interacted with the environment. It sniffed the air, listened to the distant sounds, and reacted to unseen energy patterns with subtle body shifts. It was clear now that the wolf was connected to the alien world in a way that went far beyond simple instinct. At one point, the wolf stopped abruptly and lifted its head. Its eyes glimmered brighter than before. The human looked in the same direction and saw it. Remnants of the wrecked alien ship, partially hidden by foliage, still humming faintly with energy. The wolf moved with purpose, leading the human toward the wreckage. It was as if it remembered the ship, remembered its origins, and wanted the human to understand. Carefully, the human followed. The wolf's movements were deliberate, precise, almost guiding. They approached the wreckage, and the human noticed the wolf's body reacting to the alien technology. Energy pulses ran along its fur, and faint glows traced the contours of its body. The human realized that the wolf had absorbed something from the ship, some connection that allowed it to sense technology and energy in ways humans could not. The wolf turned to the human, eyes gleaming, and nudged them forward. Together, They explored the remnants of the ship, discovering panels, devices, and alien artifacts. The wolf interacted with them instinctively, pressing against controls, reacting to energy flows and revealing hidden compartments. The human marveled. The creature they had rescued was no longer just a companion. It was a key, a living bridge between human understanding and alien technology. As the day wore on, the human and the wolf experimented together. The wolf's movements activated mechanisms that had been dormant for years. Doors slid open, lights flickered, and strange holographic displays appeared. The human's heart raced. They realized that the wolf had abilities that were both natural and technological, a combination of strength, intelligence, and alien adaptation. Together they uncovered secrets of the ship, fragments of information that no human had ever seen. The wolf paused at a central console, body tense, eyes focused. The human watched as it interacted with the device, pressing, nudging, and tilting its body in ways that revealed hidden functions. Then a low hum filled the room, stronger than before. Panels lit up, revealing a map of the surrounding area, alien symbols, and energy flows. The human could barely comprehend what they were seeing. The wolf had unlocked a part of the ship that had remained hidden for ages. The human stepped closer, placing a hand on the wolf's back. The creature leaned into the touch as if acknowledging both the human's presence and their shared achievement. In that moment, the human understood something profound. The wolf's recovery had not just restored its body, it had restored a purpose. The creature was not meant to be a victim. It was meant to guide, protect, and reveal secrets, and it had chosen the human as its partner. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the valley. The human and the wolf exited the ship, stepping into the warm glow of twilight. The wolf moved with confidence, tail high, head proud. It paused, looking at the human, and for the first time the human felt a deep, unspoken communication between them. No words were needed. The wolf had regained its strength, revealed its abilities, and shown that trust, care, and patience could create bonds stronger than fear, pain, or distance between worlds. Night fell, and the valley glowed under alien moonlight. The human and the wolf sat together, resting after their day of discovery and exploration. The wolf's body shimmered faintly in the dark, a reminder of the extraordinary journey they had shared. The human spoke softly, recounting the days they had spent together, the dangers they had faced, and the victories they had achieved. The wolf listened, head resting on the human's lap, eyes reflecting a quiet intelligence. The human realized that the adventure was far from over. The ship still held mysteries, the world around them still had dangers, and the wolf's connection to the alien technology hinted at challenges and discoveries yet to come. But now they were ready. Together, they were no longer rescuer and rescued, they were partners, equals, and companions in a world that neither had fully understood until this moment. As the first light of dawn touched the valley once more, the human stood and looked at the wolf. Its movements were strong, precise, and full of life. They shared a quiet moment, understanding that the bond they had formed could withstand any danger, any obstacle. The human whispered softly, "We've come so far. Together we can face anything." The wolf responded with a soft growl, a gesture that was more than sound. It was promise, trust, and partnership. Together, human and wolf set out toward the horizon, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The journey that had begun with fear, pain, and uncertainty had transformed into a story of trust, courage, and connection. The wolf, once paralyzed and trapped, was now free, strong, and wise. The human, once cautious and overwhelmed, was now confident, determined, and bonded to a creature unlike any other. The valley behind them faded as they moved forward, but the lessons, trust, and bond they had forged would carry them through whatever challenges awaited. The wolf's abilities, intelligence, and instincts combined with the human's courage and determination created a partnership that could overcome any obstacle. Together they were unstoppable, ready to explore the unknown, uncover secrets, and face a world that had once seemed alien and dangerous. As the sun rose higher, the human felt a quiet sense of pride. They had not just saved a creature, they had formed a connection that transcended worlds. The wolf had healed, grown stronger, and revealed abilities that were beyond imagination. But more than that, they had formed a partnership built on trust, care, and shared experiences that neither would ever forget. And so, the story came to a powerful close, not with an ending, but with a beginning. A human and an alien wolf, bound by trust and courage, stepped forward into the unknown. Together they were ready for anything. The challenges of the alien world, the mysteries of the ship, and the adventures that lay ahead could no longer intimidate them. They were no longer alone. They were partners, companions, and friends ready to face the future together. The wolf let out a soft, triumphant growl. The human smiled, placing a hand on its shimmering fur. In that moment, the human knew that they had not just survived, they had discovered something far more powerful. The unbreakable bond between two beings from different worlds, united by trust, courage, and the willingness to face the unknown together. And as the valley glowed under the rising sun, the human and the wolf moved forward, side by side, into the vast, mysterious world that awaited them. Their journey had transformed them both, and the story of their bond would continue, stronger and brighter than anything they had ever imagined.